'Tis the season. The NBA trade season is upon us. How is it affecting the card market? Plus, I'll have NFL talk too.
And I'm here to tell you which cards you should buy, sell, or hold.
This is The Forecast. I'm Amber Wilson. Welcome to another episode of The Forecast. Now, I'm going to do things a little differently on today's episode than I've been doing them. Now, I know I've been tweaking this show over the last 10 weeks. I think it is now that we've been doing this show. I want to keep things fresh for you guys and give you guys the best information. So on today's episode, Geoff's going to make an appearance. If you missed my brother on Thursdays, you're going to get a dose of Geoff on Thursdays as well. What we're going to do is I'm still going to do my usual thing. I'm talking sports. That's my thing. I'm a sports radio host in Miami. I've been talking sports for 15 years. So I'm still going to talk sports. I'm going to talk about 4 specific players today, 2 in the NBA and 2 in the NFL. So I'll talk about the players. I'll talk about their card prices. I'll show you the card price charts like I always do. And then Geoff's going to pop in and he's going to tell us his advice, whether he would buy, sell, or hold that player's card. So little duo action today that we're going to be giving you on The Forecast. Now, before I get into any of that, though, I want to remind you guys, like I always do, that we have a new version of Market Movers. It's called Market Movers Lite, half the price of Market Movers Pro, and it's where you can find all the card price charts that you're going to see on today's episode. So go check it out, marketmoversapp.com. Now, I mentioned it's NBA trade season, the best time of year. A tradition unlike any other. NBA trade season in November, December. But it is NBA trade season, even if it's a really strange trade season with the timing. And what I think is going to feel like a short one. I wonder if guys are going to be less willing to move in free agency because of when the season starts. With these trades happening, it's trades, it's Woj bombs. And then 2 days after major Woj bombs or 3 days after major Woj bombs break in, you're getting NBA draft and more Woj bombs and Shams bombs. Shams Charania, I should give him and The Athletic credit as well. So that's what NBA trade season is all about. And that's what we're facing right now in November, which is pretty cool in the midst of NFL season. So that's why we're going to do some NBA and some NFL on this show. But I'm starting in the NBA and I'm going to start with the biggest trade that kicked off this NBA trade season. And that, of course, was Chris Paul to the Phoenix Suns, leaving OKC. Good trade, I think, for both sides. You knew this trade was probably coming. We'd been hearing the rumors that they were talking about this trade or working it out, even though they weren't allowed to be talking yet. You know how that works in these sports. We've been hearing the rumors that this trade was going to go down for a few days before it actually happened. So, of course, one of the first trades that happened after trades could start. So, Chris Paul to the Suns. Let's talk about what that means for Chris Paul and what that means for his card. Now, of course, CP3, we know that he is 35 years old. You're talking about one of the most consistent point guards in the league, but he doesn't have a ring. He has tried, right? He joined the Lob City Clippers in 2011. That didn't really pan out for him there. He tried, of course, we know, with the Rockets in James Harden. That also didn't pan out for him there in terms of his ring chase. So now in OKC, they were a ways away from being able to accomplish that goal. So now we see him join a Phoenix Suns team that is young, with some studs on this team. And what does that mean for Chris Paul's career at 35 years old? And frankly, I think that means that it's going to give it a little boost here towards, I guess, the latter part of his career. I think Chris Paul, we saw it this past season. Chris Paul's still got a lot left in the tank. He's still a really good player, but he is 35 years old. Of course, now he joins a young, exciting Phoenix Suns team. He brings that veteran presence. He also, though, brings his skills as a point guard. I think it is certainly going to give him another boost here towards the end of CP3's career. So let's take a look at Chris Paul's 2005 Topps Chrome PSA 10. Now, over the last 90 days, his card's been coming down like crazy from that August surge that you had. However, Chris Paul gets traded to the Phoenix Suns. the news breaks. I think that was a Woj bomb, if I remember correctly. I don't think that was a Shams bomb. I think that one was a Woj bomb. And bam, card prices for Chris Paul's 2005 Topps Chrome PSA 10, you can see it right there, shot back up. So what do we do now? Now Chris Paul, he's going to be alongside Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. What do we do with Chris Paul's card? So for that, let's turn it over to Geoff and get Geoff's advice, buy, sell, or hold.
Amber just told you all of the reasons why Chris Paul is a great player, and I'm here to tell you it's time to sell Chris Paul cards. Yes, sell Chris Paul cards. Look, I recognize that Chris Paul is going to make Phoenix better. That is true. But they are not going to win a ring. They're not that good. And Chris Paul is 35 years old. He is at the tail end of his career. There is no ring in sight. There's no moment that is going to make him go out in a blaze of glory. And that means as a sports card investor, I'm lacking that event in his near-term future that I think could cause his card prices to further escalate and spike. So right now, based on the hype of him signing with Phoenix and the interest around Phoenix heading into this season, I would take advantage of that peak time for his card prices over the next few weeks and sell his cards.
Now, I mentioned when I was talking about Chris Paul, he's going to be playing alongside a young, exciting player in Devin Booker. Devin Booker, just 24 years old, and I don't even know where this dude's ceiling is. That's how exciting Devin Booker is in the NBA. He's already on the cusp of becoming that full-blown superstar, and he's coming off 2 consecutive seasons, averaging almost 27 points per game. He had that mind-blowing 70-point game in 2017 when he was just 20 years old. To give you guys some perspective on that, there's only 5 other players ever who've scored more points in an NBA game, and Devin Booker did it when he was 20. He's been improving his accuracy as a shooter each and every year. He's now averaging 6.5 assists per game. That's compared to just 2.5 early in his career. So he's improving in all facets of his game during his time here in the league. So the sky is the limit for Devin Booker. And now he's getting fed the ball from Chris Paul. So what does that mean for Devin Booker's card prices? Well, let's take a look at his 2015 Prism PSA 10. Now, over the last 90 days, his cards actually remain fairly stagnant overall. But you should keep an eye out for this card to trend upwards as the season approaches. And by season, I mean December 22nd. So by season, I mean basically a month away from now. So we didn't see that immediate boost in Devin Booker's cards like we saw in Chris Paul's cards when the trade news broke. And I think that's pretty interesting. Let's see what Geoff's take on the Devin Booker and Chris Paul situation is. Buy, sell, or hold.
Unlike Chris Paul, I am a big time buy on Devin Booker. Look, Devin Booker is only 24 years old. He's got a ton of basketball in front of him. His prime years are in front of him. And I think he's going to put up some great numbers this year. He showed tremendous potential in the bubble. Unlike Chris Paul, Devin Booker is going to make headlines for years and years to come. This guy could become a scoring machine, especially with Chris Paul there now running the offense. I like Devin Booker. I would buy Devin Booker's 2015 Prism cards and his Select cards.
Now, guys, Geoff and I want to remind you, if you haven't done so already, please click the bell icon, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It really helps us out. You just click the little bell icon. It's super easy. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, let's change sports here. We're going to change the flow of things. I'm going to be doing more NBA trade talk, I'm sure, next week's episode, because there were certainly more blockbuster trades to talk about in the NBA. But I do want to talk some football because we're in the midst of the NFL season. And specifically, I want to talk again about Lamar Jackson. I have talked about him on the show, but what's happening right now with his card prices, I think is really interesting. Now, of course, with Lamar Jackson, we're talking about a player coming off of an MVP season. And that has one drawback. The one drawback of being an MVP is that people expect you then year in and year out to be able to play up to that standard. And lately, Lamar's performances have been somewhat lackluster, at least in comparison to his MVP caliber numbers. Of course, I think it's a bit unrealistic to always expect or compare Lamar Jackson to the height of his play. I'm already hearing talk from people saying things like Lamar Jackson can't win the big one. He can't win when it really counts. I mean, how many years has Lamar been in the league? We're doing this to a dude who's, I think, 23 years old. But that's what we do to these guys. When our expectations get so high, and our expectations are so high on Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are 6-3. They're coming off a tough loss to Cam Newton and the Patriots. So overall, Lamar's numbers are down compared to last year, which is raising questions and having an effect on the card market. So let's take a look at Lamar Jackson's 2018 Prism PSA 10. Now, just a few short months ago, this card was worth $3,000. Now, it's just under $1,000. His prices are also coming down from that buying hysteria that we always talk about that occurred in August, but nonetheless, they have taken a significant hit. So it can't just be that. I think that we're seeing the card price market, at least in my opinion, react to not meeting this failed expectations, not meeting these expectations that I think are frankly a bit unrealistic and a bit unfair, really, to Lamar Jackson, that we're holding him to that standard, that people are so disappointed with Lamar Jackson this season. But now let's check in with Geoff and see what he thinks is happening here with Lamar Jackson's cards and whether we should buy, sell, or hold.
Man, talk about a fall from grace in the sports card hobby. Lamar Jackson's 2018 Prism base card in PSA 10 is down almost 75% in the last 90 days. I own several of this card. I should have sold these cards back in August. I could have gotten $3,500 for these cards. And today they're around $800. But what do you do today if, like me, you are holding on to these cards? I would hold. If you're holding on to his cards, I would hold, because we're near the bottom. In fact, I would think about buying. Maybe not quite yet. They're now coming off another loss. Let's see if they go down a little bit further. But look, Lamar Jackson is going to have a great career in front of him. Don't overreact to what's happened in the recent games. He proved it last year with an MVP. The Ravens are devoid of good wide receiver talent. They will build a better team around him in the years ahead, and he is young enough where he is going to be putting up highlights for seasons and seasons to come. I like the long-term potential of Lamar. I like the long-term potential of the Ravens. We're at a hold and maybe soon a buy point with Lamar Jackson.
To another dynamic quarterback who, maybe formerly a dynamic quarterback in Cam Newton, because I don't know if he can ever, frankly, get back there. Of course, Cam Newton, he signed with the New England Patriots for this season, and we saw that reflected in his card prices. There was a lot of excitement around his card prices. We saw a skyrocket at the beginning of the season because people had high hopes for Cam Newton under center in New England. Unfortunately, the season hasn't panned out for the Patriots like they hoped, nor has it specifically for Cam Newton, frankly. Cam and the Patriots, they did just upset Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Like I mentioned, that improved their record to 4-5, but Cam has not had a good season overall. And my concern with Cam, I'm not concerned at all about Lamar Jackson. I am concerned about Cam Newton. Cam Newton, to me, is a player who just maybe used improperly early in his career, frankly. Too much play, not used the right way, not protected enough, and just so injury riddled. I think that the aging and the injuries, not that Cam's old, but the aging and the injuries has taken a toll on Cam Newton. It just feels like maybe he doesn't still have it. Let's take a look at his at least to me. We'll ask Geoff what he thinks in a second. Let's take a look at his 2011 Topps Chrome PSA 10. Now, over the last 90 days, this card has been sinking like a rocket. Cam Newton's 2011 Topps Chrome PSA 10 has lost nearly half its value in the last 3 months. Yikes. So, Geoff, what do we do with this card? Buy, sell, or hold?
If you are still holding Cam Newton cards, I unfortunately think you missed your opportunity. The time to sell Cam's cards was right when the season was starting and the hype was at the maximum. He had been signed by the Patriots. He had beat out Jarrett Stidham. People were excited to see what he and the Patriots could do together this year. He's done some good things along the way, but it hasn't exactly been a crazy performance. And the challenge that I now have is I look out into Cam Newton's future and I don't see anything out there that it leads me to believe there's going to be this great moment in time that's going to cause his card prices to spike again. What's going to happen? He's not going to win a championship. The Patriots aren't really going anywhere. I don't see him going to another team and becoming, some savior in the years ahead. I think his career, unfortunately, is going to whittle out, at some point here. So if you still happen to have Cam cards, I'd probably go ahead and sell them now.
All right, guys. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this new format. Geoff popping in, making an appearance on the forecast. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Thanks as always for watching today's episode. You can listen to me on 790 The Ticket on the radio.com app each and every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the Zaslow and Amber Show. It's a lot of fun. We don't just talk Miami sports. We talk all sports. So check it out no matter where you live. Of course, Geoff will be back on Sunday with his own content for you. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Then go to marketmoversapp.com. Don't forget to check that out as well. You can follow me on social media at AmberW790. Talk to you guys next week.